Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Lynn, and in this video I'll be making a Halloween tunnel card. And for this tunnel card I'll be using two die sets from iCrafter. You'll need on the left the base set, which is the Swan, and that's going to get you the main die here. We're just going to use this large die here. That's essentially the mechanism to create your tunnel card. Then I also have the Halloween add-on. So that just has the decorative design die cut plate that you would place right in the center of the base plate. And that's going to cut your different designs out. Everything is really cleverly designed and clearly marked on the dies. You know which side is up, and all you have to do is just put the aperture design plate, and I already cut out two, but I left this third one, which is the sort of the middle layer of our scene, to do on camera so that you can see this, because the backmost and the frontmost you'll want to do a full die cut, and you can see here on the die it actually says top, so you know how to orient your die when you place it within the base here. And I do like to tape it down in a couple of spots just to make sure that the dies don't jump. With this middle layer here, you actually do not need the full width of this. That's why I've already trimmed down this piece to just larger than 4x4, and so that'll give you a little bit of wiggle room so that you are going to cut beyond where normally there would be score lines, and we'll just trim on those score lines when this comes out of the die cutting machine. And this just saves you a little bit of cardstock because you're going to be trimming off the two sides anyways, so why die cut the full thing when you don't have to? So I'll just go ahead and release that, and you'll see how I trim this off. And again, you only have to do this for your middle scene. When the tunnel card is fully assembled, you'll have a front scene, a middle scene, and a back scene. So there's going to be a lot of interest, a lot of depth going on here. And the interesting thing with this whole system of tunnel cards is that there are a lot of different add-on sets that you can get that are themed differently. And of course, they're themed to work together as a threesome. However, if you own a few of these sets, there's nothing that says you can't mix and match between the various add-on sets. So this is definitely one of those systems that is a investment, because once you have that base tunnel card set, the Swan set, and you start getting the accompanying add-ons, your possibilities for creating just begin to multiply, because each of these, there's nothing to say that you have to use them in any particular order. Of course, there's a suggested order, but I could have put the house in the front if I wanted, or I could have put the trees all the way in the back. And so there's a lot of different ways to kind of mix and match and play within each of those add-on sets. But then once you have multiple add-on sets, you can mix and match between the sets as well. So I really think that it's a system that is kind of nice, because with every release, your possibilities just continue to multiply and grow. So now I've got all three scenes die cut out of black 80-pound cardstock. Actually, correction. The front and back scene I die cut out of 100-pound cardstock. I want those to be sturdy, because it's gonna kind of be folded and open and closed. So those are from slightly thicker cardstock. This middle scene here is, it doesn't have a bend or a fold in it at all, and it's kind of nestled in between the other two. So I've die cut this one out of 80-pound cardstock. And now I'm going to take my Distress Oxide ink, and I'm just going to start to ink right over the black cardstock. Because it's a bit of a hybrid ink, it has some pigment in it, and that sort of little bit of chalkiness, it's opaque as opposed to a dye-based ink, which is more translucent, and dye-based inks will absorb into your paper, and thus it doesn't have that opacity in the same way that a Distress Oxide ink does. So I'm going to just kind of ink over this so that it's not so oppressively black and we get a little bit more interest going on. So on this backmost panel, I started out with, I think, Shaded Lilac. I've got some Blueprint Sketch, and I'm gonna end with some Chipped Sapphire at the very top. So a little bit of a blend so that it's still dark and nighttime, and that's still pretty clear because these are still very muted, and sort of almost like a shade of that color because it is going over black. So it's not as bright as it would normally be if you were inking over white cardstock. But at the same time, it still gives it, some nice color, some nice dimension. Now, our house here, the dye did cut out these really cute shutters, so the windows are open, and it almost looks like the front door is a little bit ajar. So I just die cut a little bit of yellow cardstock. I'm inking it a little bit just to give it a little bit of dimension so that it doesn't look so flat. And I'll go ahead and glue that to the back of the house so that it looks like the lights are on in this house. And the backmost layer here, I'm adding a little bit more purple, and you can see that I keep on bringing on the layers just so that I can preview how it's looked, because as you layer up the middle scene and the front scene, some of what you do is going to get blocked, or some of that backmost scene is going to get blocked off. So you don't necessarily have to ink all the way to the edge. You just really need to ink where it's going to be visible. And behind the moon, I've just got some glow-in-the-dark cardstock that I made, which I have been using on all of my Halloween cards this year. And behind the bats, I'm putting a little bit of silver glitter. The glow-in-the-dark cardstock I made by just using some Versamark clear ink, swiped that over some white cardstock, and then I poured Wow glow-in-the-dark embossing powder over that, and that just gives me a nice panel of glow-in-the-dark cardstock that I've been die cutting from. So this ghost is die cut from that glow-in-the-dark cardstock, and I'm gonna attach him to a little acetate stand here so that he can look like he's floating in midair. And I'll go ahead and attach him to my middle scene, and that way he's not directly attached to the back. So hopefully that has a little bit of interest and depth to it. And I just love all of the details here and all of the intricate, cuts in all of the scenes, really, because this front layer has these really spooky trees. The detailing on the house is phenomenal, and the back scene is fairly simple, but I do think it really adds to the effect here. So now to glue this, the back scene has two folds that you'll want to fold, and you're gonna actually fold that so that it when it is die cut, you're folding valley folds. That way you have the nice professional cut edge in the front. And you just want to put glue on that small little 1/4 inch glue tab there. And I attached my middle scene first. And now I'm going to attach the front scene. And make sure that you're burnishing really well. Even though I am using a dry adhesive tape that pretty well covers that entire glue tab, I'm still using liquid adhesive because this, while not necessarily interactive, it may get folded down and pop up several times. So I don't want anything to come apart at all, and the liquid adhesive will be nice and permanent. Now, I decided last minute that it just feels it just feels a little bit too dark, and that front, the trees feel a little bit too kind of plain to me. So I thought, since we've used silver on the back most, why not use a bit of silver on the front as a little highlight. So I tried to use my Quickie glue pen because it's so easy to just draw right in those kind of little tree branches, but that didn't really do a very good job at with sticking to the glitter cardstock, which I'm not too terribly surprised by. Usually liquid glue is the best thing for glitter cardstock. So I did end up, as you can see here, scribbling on some liquid adhesive, and that did a fine job. So now I've just got like a little bit hint of silver on my tree, and it almost looks like, you know, the moonlight is hitting it. And to glue this down, I'm just going to fold everything flat. Now, I prefer, whenever there's any 3D make, anything dimensional that does pop up, when I go to glue it down, if it's intended to be able to fold down flat, I always attach it flat. That way I know that it's going to fold down flat, and everything is going to land exactly where expected. So here's a final look at the card itself, and I just added a nice white panel to the back to hide the inner workings, because I did back the moon and the bat, and also that gives me a place to stamp a little sentiment and write a little personal message before I put this in the mail. And at the end of the day, this will fit into a US A2 size card. So it folds down really nicely, and the pop-up, when it's fully popped up, is 4x4. So that panel on the back, I just cut just shy of 4x4. Well, I hope that you like this Halloween card that I made. I do have other Halloween cards that I made this year in separate videos, so if you'd like, feel free to check those out too. Until my next video, happy crafting and have a fantastic day. Thanks so much. Bye.